I apologize for my appearance, but I have been working in the garden today, so I came in to share a few thoughts. Last night, a friend contacted me saying that she was suffering from panic attacks due to the COVID-19 virus. She asked if I could show her something in the Bible that might give her peace, and here are a few comments that I made and a few verses that I shared with her. First, individuals who face times like these develop a much greater vision about what existence really means. The people who lived through the medieval plagues deeply appreciated the relationship between their fragile lives and enduring eternity. Even the children made a game of their own mortality, and they danced in the street and sang "Ring Around the Rosies," pockets full of posies, ashes, ashes, we all fall down. Our materialistic world fools us into thinking that life consists of what we experience from day to day, what we see, what we own, the people we know, and that we'll always be able to keep it just the way it is. But that view of life is far too narrow. Our existence, the reality of who we are, passes beyond the thin veil of this life to fill eternity. There's absolutely no promise or guarantee here. For that reason, Jesus said that we would always face trouble in this life, but to take hope because He overcame this world by passing beyond it, we can too, through Him. John 16:33, Jesus said, "These things I've spoken unto you, that in me you might have peace. In the world you shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I've overcome the world." Second, by realizing that this present existence only brings hardship, we refocus our attention, our trust, our hope on a higher plane, a more sure promise, a greater reality in God alone. Isaiah 26:3 says, "Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee." You see, if we, even in this crisis, if all we consider is our own mortality, or if all we consider is the possibility of having to face an unseen enemy, an unseen threat, this COVID-19 virus, you won't have peace. Isaiah said, "Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee." Now that verse doesn't promise that we will live forever in this life, because we know that's not true. God Himself said it's appointed unto man once to die, and after that the judgment. We're going to leave here one way or the other. Now or tomorrow or 10 years from now, we're not getting out of here alive. So the matter is not the extension of life, but the matter is living in perfect peace while we're here. "Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee." Third, God's peace is beyond natural explanation, because it does not grow from anything we know here. People in the world, people that don't know God, don't know Christ, people that have invested themselves in things that pass away, they don't understand the peace of God, because the peace of God, again, doesn't grow from anything we know here. In contrast to the brief, troublesome moment that we fritter away here, our eternal hope comes by way of Christ's intervention for our sake. He lived for us. He died for us. He came to life again for us. Isn't it interesting here that we are facing this dilemma at the time of both Passover and Easter? Passover, the time of a great plague that swept through Egypt. Easter, the time of Christ's resurrection, that we might have hope beyond this world and beyond the grave. He came to life again for us, so that we might have a greater hope than anything this world offers. And by that single promise, we have peace. Philippians 4:7, and the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. It didn't say it'll keep your body, but it said the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. What will happen in this life will happen. And truly there are worse things still to come, simply because America must stand before the Almighty in judgment for her sins. There's absolutely no way around it. For the past 50 years, we have murdered, we have butchered the tiny innocents. And now we publicly flaunt our abomination in God's face with the blessing of much of Christ's apostate church. We're going to pay. We cannot change God's ultimate plan for this present crisis. Fighting the inevitable is like spitting into a hurricane. But our fear, our dread, is a total waste of time, and it's actually a sin against every moment of life that we're given. But the problems that we cannot fight here can still be escaped through Jesus there, on the other side of death. In summary, unlike the transient, fleeting pleasures of this life, Jesus still spoke of a much greater, enduring peace even on the very eve of his death. Before he went to the cross, while he was still with his friends, in John 14:27, he said, "Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid." Anything this old world gives, it's going to take back. It's kind of like Newton and the apple. What goes up must come down. Anything that you have received from this life, you have only been loaned. You've only borrowed it for a little while. Jesus said, "I do not give to you as the world gives." What the world gives, it will eventually take back. But he said, "I have lived. I'm dying. I'm going to live again, so that you might receive the peace that I leave you. My peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid." So when you start feeling scared, here's something I want you to do. I want you to read and memorize the verses that I included in this little conversation. John 16:33, Isaiah 26:3, Philippians 4:7, John 14:27. That way, you have something constructive to do other than worry. Call it medicine for your mind. No, I'm not promising to keep you well, but I am promising to give you peace, which after all is more important than life anyway. There are people today that are alive that have absolutely no peace. Peace is more important than life, and you can have it through Jesus Christ and God's promise.